Another really busy news day today for Tesla, and we got some good news. On top of that, we got more strong proof that the Cybertruck launch is now imminent. Twitter/X CEO Linda says that 90% of the top 100 advertisers have returned to the platform. In the past 12 weeks alone, about 1,500 have returned. This is great news for Tesla stock investors because many really don't like Elon selling Tesla stock to fund Twitter/X. And with so many advertisers returning, Twitter/X being profitable is inevitable. Predictions of Twitter dying will die a lonely, grim death. Never bet against Elon, I agree. Tesla has started to deliver Cybertruck launch event apparel to employees, hinting at an imminent launch for the electric pickup truck. Based on the latest rumors that we heard recently, it should happen in October. Some good news here. Tesla is shipping thousands of new refresh Model 3s from Giga Shanghai, so the production seems to be going great. And yes, these are definitely refreshed Model 3s. The UAW union president reportedly wants to target Tesla workers to encourage them to unionize. UAW membership has fallen to 400,000 from more than 1 million in the 1970s. While it is possible they could be successful, I think it is unlikely. I agree with Sawyer here. I'm looking forward to this 1 hour long Elon Musk interview that will happen on October 5th. We now know that over 95% of Tesla sales in China last week were Model Y, and the Model 3 sales were slightly higher this week. Last week, they were a bit slower. But I haven't seen any refresh Model 3 deliveries, so these must have been deliveries to customers that ordered the old Model 3. There are now 20 Tesla Supercharger locations in the US with Magic Dock where non-Tesla EVs can charge. So even if your EV cannot take the NACS connector, you can still charge with that bulky CCS. Tesla just updated its app, which hints at improvements to third-party support. Fitch Ratings has assigned final ratings and rating outlooks to the asset-backed notes issued by Tesla Autolease Trust, which should allow consumers to get better lease terms. And perhaps leasing will be a little bit easier. Tesla is going into a critical trial today over a death that reportedly happened in an Autopilot crash, where the driver died and his 2 passengers were seriously injured. The passengers and lease estate are claiming that a defect in Autopilot is responsible for the accident and that Tesla knew that there was a problem with its system, making the automaker responsible for the accident. Tesla is arguing that driver retention is the problem and also noted that Lee had alcohol in his blood even though it was under the legal limit. The automaker also disputes the fact that Autopilot was engaged during the crash. However, Tesla has previously claimed that when Autopilot disengages itself moments before a crash. Tesla has one similar case in the past, every single one of them, but this one is a higher profile since it unfortunately involves a fatality. It could also create a precedent for Tesla and other Autopilot accidents, as the argument that Tesla warns drivers that the responsibility is with them will be tested again. Every single death is extremely unfortunate. Every single accident is extremely unfortunate. But people have to pay attention when they drive on Autopilot and full self-driving. So Tesla needs to fight back very strongly. Otherwise, if Tesla has to pay out a lot of money for every single lawsuit like this, it will hinder the progress and development of Autopilot and full self-driving, which would then actually result in more lives being lost, because the sooner we develop the full self-driving technology, the sooner accidents can stop happening. The opening statements are expected in court today, and the trial could last over a week. Electric's take is that Tesla is not at fault because it never has been, and generally Tesla makes it very clear that you have to pay attention even when on full self-driving or Autopilot, and you have to keep your eyes on the road. However, lately I have seen a few things from FSD Beta that are worrying, writes Fred from Electric. The relatively new behavior of FSD Beta moving to the left of a lane when passing a truck has resulted in some small incidents and near misses that would be hard to blame on the drivers. Also, I reported on a serious problem with the latest FSD Beta update earlier this month that tried to drive me off the road twice in a few minutes. I was using the system as intended with my hands on the wheel and eyes on the road, but even then I was barely able to take control in time. Therefore, I think there's room for Tesla to be tested in court with the liability of its system, but I don't know enough about this particular case to know if it is warranted. We will have to follow the court case and see. I have FSD on my car, and while I haven't experienced things exactly like Fred, I wouldn't be surprised if Fed actually did have these experiences. But it would appear to me that version 12 would be significantly better when it comes to these specific situations like that. James has some pretty good insights here. Q4 is the perfect quarter to launch the Cybertruck. Higher costs per unit of early low volume Cybertruck units will be diluted in a whole lot more sales in Q4 versus Q3. He expects Q4 auto gross margins to be higher than Q3. Q3 faces headwinds from idle capacity in Austin and China because of the Model 3 refresh and deep S and X cuts. This will hit average selling price and average cost, so it's a double whammy. Q4 will see sales of the higher average selling price Model 3 and higher overall volumes, which will lower average vehicle cost because of economies of scale. Unless we get an early quarter cut on Model Y, it should easily be greater margin quarter than Q3. Also, we had these production upgrades in Austin and in other places as well, so that will help the Model Y. Q4 is also the seasonally best quarter of the year for auto demand. Tesla is expected to release its Q3 production and delivery numbers on Monday, this Monday, on October 2nd at 8:30 in the morning Eastern Time. They have consistently released it on the 2nd for the last 14 quarters. We would have to go back all the way to 2019 Q4 where the results came out on the 3rd. Now, another thing to keep in mind is the reason why this time the results are likely to be released quite a bit earlier than normal. For example, normally we expect them to see at around 9 a.m. Pacific time, but this time it's going to be around 5:30 Pacific time. That's because it's going to be a Monday, so people can actually trade. So Tesla usually wants to get these out before the markets open. But that's not really a guarantee either. For example, if you look at January 2nd, right here, the results came out at 9 a.m. Pacific time and the markets were already open. So this does not guarantee that the results will come out exactly at 5:30. There's a discussion about the range of the Cybertruck for the highest trim, and Sawyer hopes it would be 500, but he's not really expecting it. He says the fact that we haven't heard Elon saying 500 miles of range in so long makes me think it will be in the low to mid 400s. That's a really good observation there. And here are some of the delivery estimates. Baird is expecting 493,000 deliveries. That would be spectacular if it happened. Earlier, Gary's estimate was 440,000 deliveries, but he has now updated it to 445,000. I assume that is because of better than expected deliveries in China. So that's nice to see. For 2024, James thinks that 2.3 million deliveries is a reasonable estimate for next year. 2.1 million seems too low, especially considering the new Model 3 and Cybertruck adding to volumes year over year. But going past 2.3 million looks very challenging to me right now, unless prices fall, plus margins go to 15% and or Tesla starts to advertise. My long-term delivery estimates, including next year's estimate, is exclusively on Patreon. You will find it in my valuation model in the base case. So there's this video that shows a Tesla owner in China being turned away from entering this parking lot to charge their Tesla, but they were turned away because supposedly there's an issue because the parking lot is near government offices, and it got a little bit heated too. Ray says here that this government complex is not really particularly sensitive, so I assume there's no military there or anything like that. And the issue has now been resolved, so seems like the Tesla owner was able to park and charge his car there. In China, the best way to get no Tesla allowed parking restriction resolved is to expose the incident online. Social media uproar may get things turned around, just like this incident and the previous one in which a local airport authority refused Teslas to park at its parking facilities.
Hi, I'm David Lau, VP Vehicle Software at Tesla. I'm here at Tesla's Shanghai R&D Center. with the brand new Model 3. We've improved noise reduction, both from wind noise and from road noise, which allows the newly upgraded audio system to really shine. It's impossible for me to describe how awesome it is. You just have to experience it to know what I'm talking about. Ever since we started delivering Model S in China many years ago, we knew that China was going to be an incredibly important market for us. We knew that we needed to have a software team on the ground to support manufacturing of cars in China for China. And we're continuing to invest in developing leadership of our technical teams here. But that's what we do at Tesla. We take on impossible problems and we work together. All of this is just the beginning.
Joe Tagmeyer posted this interesting picture. Here you can see how wide this is for the Model Y castings, and then this is where Cybertruck castings will go, and this is how much bigger this whole thing is. We are approaching production fast. Elon just posted the competition is coming. This was in response to Ford's decision to hit the brakes on a planned $3.5 billion battery plant in Michigan. When do you think the Cybertruck will be launched? Well, if Tesla wants to be a little funny and silly, they would do it on Cyber Monday, but that's all the way back in November. Based on the latest rumors, we are expecting the launch to happen in October. Went from dancing to barely walking to now being able to sort some stuff. Of course, that is a person in just a suit. I briefly mentioned this earlier, but I need to show you the video here as well. This Model Y owner tested the refreshed Model 3 and noticed significant improvements on suspension, giving him the impression of a totally different vehicle. And look at the bumps he's going through, and look at the speed he's going at. I would not want to go through these bumps at this speed. He's going really fast. He's really pushing the car here, and he's not slowing down through these bumps. Tesla looms large over the UAW strike, writes Electric. And there's a take from Morgan Stanley here, and if you read in between the lines, you can see very clearly that Morgan Stanley thinks this is great for Tesla. Morgan Stanley writes, it's incredibly difficult to predict the duration of today's strike given how far apart the two sides appear to be, the motivations of the OEMs, and the broader political environment. In our view, even before potential 30 to 40% rise in hourly worker labor costs, we questioned the ability of the Detroit 3 GM, Ford, Stellantis to be able to produce high-volume EVs at a profit. An outlier inflationary outcome with the UAW merely exacerbates the issue. Our medium-term EV forecasts for the Detroit 3 are far below management targets. For example, 1/3 or 1/4 of management's targets due to a variety of factors ranging from cultural to competitive to cultural. So yeah, this is fantastic for Tesla, really, unless Tesla's workers unionized, then maybe not so good. I talked about Lucid getting permits and everything for its factory in Saudi Arabia, but now it has been officially open, and it's the first ever car manufacturing facility in Saudi Arabia. And I guess this is not really a surprise, but Lucid is introducing another Air variant, the Kingdom Dream Edition, to celebrate the opening of a factory in Saudi Arabia. I have an idea for Lucid. There's another special edition that they should work on before it's too late, because you know, once this thing happens, then the special edition will not really feel all that special. I think they should call it Not Bankrupt Dream Edition. Apple's work on the Apple Car has lost all visibility at the current time, according to Apple analyst. He says that if Apple does not adopt some kind of acquisition strategy to make inroads in the automotive market, it is unlikely that the Apple Car will be able to go into mass production within the next years. Many years, probably. Back in the day, Apple actually could have bought Tesla. Apple would have been a lot more successful if it did that. But regardless of that, I think Apple investors are pretty happy with the returns in the last 5 to 10-ish years. Elon seems to be having fun retweeting things like this. These are not leaves. Definitely not leaves. Here are days on which Tesla was one of the top 3 most popular stocks with retail investors. And you can see that in 2023 so far, on most days, it has been the most popular stock. Our community is strong and the buying opportunity is clear. According to Experience Automotive Consumer Trends Report in Q2 of 2023, Tesla was 4 of the top 5 models in the luxury EV segment. Interestingly, BMW i4 was number 4, only beating the Model S. I assume this is in the US, and this was before the big Model S and X price cuts. And once the Cybertruck comes out, if it is considered a luxury vehicle, then all 5 top spots will go to Tesla probably. In many countries, Tesla has opened its superchargers to older EVs, and now it has done so in New Zealand as well.
Adjust it a little bit up because, and now I'm looking for that. You see, this is the problem. Once you're like this position, I'm looking for the turn signal and it's down here. Shit, man, get the stocks back. I don't know what the heck Tesla is trying to do, but they want to cut cost, fine, but there are some stuff you don't want to mess with.
Yeah, removing the stocks, I think, is going a bit too far. Once full self-driving actually fully works, then yeah, I don't think we need them. But right now, I think it would be better if Tesla still included them. This is getting worse for GM, Stellantis, and for the UAW union plans to strike additional Detroit-free automotive facilities on Friday, absent serious progress. There seems to be some progress here with the strikes. The UAW union wants to emerge from its strike against Detroit's 3 major automakers with at least a 30% pay raise, down from their 40%. Jeep's first fully electric SUV racks up over 40,000 orders, and Jeep aims for 100% EV sales in Europe, 50% in North America by 2030. Jeep's first electric SUV starts at $43,500. The range is 248 miles, WLTP, which is worse than EPA, so you need to take it down by a little bit. So less than 250 miles, yeah, that's not great. Also, charging is not exactly fast. It has 100 kilowatt DC fast charging. But overall, I like seeing more EVs on the roads. I went for a walk in the city yesterday, and yeah, all of that pollution, not great. So I like this. And I'm certainly not expecting Tesla to have 100% market share. Have a look at the top selling vehicles in the United States by category year to date through August. Tesla's Model Y is the best-selling SUV of any kind. Tesla Model 3 is in second place for passenger cars. That's pre-refresh, so I think that's going to change. Toyota RAV4 average selling price is $35,000. Honda CR-V average selling price is $35,000. And then the Model Y average selling price is $55,000. And people say that affordability is not an issue. Well, if you compare a huge $55,000 SUV to a smaller Model Y SUV, they both cost the same, but they are very different vehicles. It's not really a fair comparison. And look at the Toyota Camry average selling price, $30,000. Honda Accord average selling price, $30,000. Model 3 is $45,000. So if you are limited on cash and you're going to buy a Camry, and that's all the money you have, $30,000, let's say, are you buying a Model 3? Now, if you do all of the math of all the savings, yeah, probably. If you can afford the down payment and if you can afford the monthly payments in the long term, actually, you'll be just fine because you will save money on gas, you will save money on repairs, and insurance, if you can get cheaper insurance for the Model 3 from Tesla. Overall, you're going to do better, but many people just look at the sticker price. And eventually, inevitably, the sticker prices of EVs will come down by a lot, to a point where a sticker price of an EV will be less than the sticker price of a gas vehicle. So we could either advertise right now and educate the consumer that actually the prices in the long term are already basically the same, and in some cases better, especially if you add the tax credits from the government, or we can just keep making the cars better, and naturally the prices will come down anyway. And then the choice will be painfully obvious. At least where I am over here, you can get a lot of these cheaper vehicles without any down payments, but can you get a Model 3 or a Model Y without a down payment? Especially if you don't have a really good credit score. And then I know people say the $7,500 EV tax credit is great, but you need to wait until the tax returns are done. And only then you get the money back. And most people live paycheck to paycheck. They can't really afford that. So that's going to change in the beginning of next year, and the sales might pick up a little bit more. Also, if you are going to put a down payment on a $55,000 Tesla versus a $30,000 Toyota, let's say, if both down payments are just 10%, you're putting down $3,000 instead of $5,500. And to many people, that makes a big difference. And I think 20% down payments are more common, so you need to double that. Adam Jonas from Morgan Stanley is a lead analyst for Ford. And Adam Jonas writes, do they, GM, Ford, and Stellantis, for example, want to be the next Tesla? Is that a realistic goal? Versat is running a poll. Will FSD version 12 launch as level 2, 3, 4, or hybrid of all three? I think it will be level 2, meaning you will still need to pay attention the whole time while FSD is on. Elon did say it is not going to be beta, but if it launches, let's say in January, I think that's a bit too soon to not have it in beta where Tesla would be responsible for the accidents. Look at that inventory in the US go down. It's not just the Model Y, which naturally would go down because Texas was shut down for a little while, but it's also the Model 3. So yeah, the inventory is looking really good. That's one of the more interesting license plates I've seen. According to a new report from Nikkei, Toyota is now aiming to produce 600,000 electric cars in 2025, tripling the expected 2024 output of 190,000 units. The report notes Toyota has already notified several of its major suppliers of its planned EV production ramp over the next few years, so maybe they are actually serious, but we'll see. I mean, last year, Toyota and Lexus sold a total of 24,500 fully electric cars, representing just 0.26% of their overall sales. And, you know, it didn't help that the wheels were falling off. If you are a new investor, that's actually a true story. Looks like Elon has not been sleeping too well. He posted this at 3 a.m. The meme says, scientist explaining the importance of good sleep. Me at 3 a.m. watching him explain. Versat is guessing that Honda's new 300-mile range EV will probably be in the upper $50,000 price range. You can see some of the specs here. It is coming to the US in Q1 of next year.
Of course, because it's a Honda. This is an EV built to handle your next adventure. Simple to charge, instantly familiar. We've designed an electric SUV with features that make the driving and ownership experience more enjoyable. From the company driven by dreams.
A dream to not go bankrupt during this EV transition. I respect that. SpaceX has won its first contract with the United States Space Force to provide customized satellite communications for the military under the company's new Starshield program. There was a lot of controversy recently about Starlink satellites in Ukraine, and here's what Elon's biographer had to say about this recently.
When Russia invades Ukraine, the Russians are able to hack all satellites go down, except Starlink, which is Elon Musk. And they would have been crushed. He's sending hundreds and then thousands of free Starlink dishes and services, which basically, as Fedorov says, or the vice minister, saves Ukraine. He ends up deciding to give up and to sell control over a certain number of Starlink satellites and services, and even make a military version of it called Starshield, that he is now selling outright to the U.S. government and its intelligence agencies. So U.S. officials get to decide how the Starlink is enabled to be used by the Ukraine.
It is crazy to think how much power just one single private citizen has accumulated. But it's not like Elon was trying to accumulate all of this power. He just built companies that are incredibly innovative, and that was a direct result of that. And he willingly basically gave away that power, which I highly respect.
Because the only times he would kick me out of the room And the only questions he wouldn't answer is when it was classified information and he was having a classified conversation and I would have to go.
As the book went on, Walter, I got the sense that you were growing more and more impatient with him. Or at least his lack of self-control. Did I imagine that?
I found it really difficult, and I try to convey it in the book in very vivid terms. But by the end, he's doing amazing things. He's getting Starship launched. He's starting an artificial intelligence company. He's doing full self-driving through machine learning with billions of frames. But he's also somewhat unhinged and uncontrolled and shooting things off and saying things, especially posting things on X or Twitter. And it's something that is so impulsive and so immature in a way. One of his friends, Antonio Gracia, said we were traveling and I just had to try to stop him from doing these tweets. And I took his phone and put it in the hotel safe and punched in a code and then left. And then at 3 a.m, Musk calls hotel security to get his phone out. When I asked him, he says, yeah, if I have one regret is I keep shooting myself in the foot. I should buy Kevlar boots because I keep, shooting myself and stabbing myself. And the follow-up is like, well, why do you keep doing it? But he says, this is who I am. And this is the larger theme of the book. I'm sorry to do that, which is what a Musk that's controlled, what a Musk with an impulse control button, with a Musk that you could say, okay, temper this. Would a tempered Musk be as successful as a Musk unbound? And we have that here in Washington. You can call it the Richard Holbrooke phenomenon, whatever it may be. People who are really strong and driven and drive people nuts. Can you pull out the dark strands and say, would a Musk unbound still be getting the rockets into orbit? And the answer is, no, you don't have to be a jerk or an a-hole or whatever. But you have to look at every individual, light and dark, as a tightly woven fabric, and by understanding them, that doesn't mean you sympathize, that doesn't mean you excuse, but it's really helpful to understand these people.
That was a very indirect, but I think clear way to say, yeah, if Elon did not have all of these negative traits, I don't think we would have all of these achievements that he has successfully accomplished. So if you are tempted to complain about Elon's weird behavior occasionally, maybe just remember that first, and then with that in mind, make your comment.
Elon Musk is the litmus test, which is so many people either totally revere him or can't stand him. Or somebody out there was telling me, I have a Tesla and I love my Tesla, but I'm embarrassed because it's Elon Musk. So we have to be able to once again understand not only nuances, but that sometimes a darkness in somebody is something you can really decry, but you have to understand, and maybe not admire, but have to understand that people are more complex, that it's not the cartoon heroes and villains that our cable TV age has turned people into.
One way to interpret this is to say that Walter just confirmed that without all of these bad traits, Elon Musk would not have been nowhere near as successful as he has been. Not understanding this will make you a bad Tesla investor. This is a video about important lessons, and it's available exclusively on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you will get access to how much I think it is fair to pay per Tesla share each year between 2023 and 2033. If you sign up for the investor tier of support, you will also get my valuation model of Tesla stock with a 45-minute video walkthrough. And YouTube says you should watch this video next, but if you haven't finished watching that discussion about the future where Elon Musk participates, watch this one first. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt Pocius.